Devarim. Good?
Tov.
Eila Devarim. These are the things. Let me make this bigger for me at least. 1 second. There we go. There we go. Oh, good. Eila Devarim asher diber Moshe al kol bnei Israel. These are the things that God spoke to all the Jews be'ever Yarden on the eastern side of the Jordan. It was before they crossed over. Bamidbar, when they were still in the desert. Ba'arava mul suf. This is opposite the mul suf. We'll see what it really means, mul suf. Bein Parana, Bein Tofo, V'Lavan, V'Chatzeros, V'Dizav. It's telling all these places. In fact, these places are not really places. You'll see it's referring to other things. Ela Devarim, these are the things. Lefi Shehem Divrei Tochachot. These are words of reproof. Umanakan Kol HaMakomot. And here he is enumerating all of the places Sheikh Isu Livnei Amakom that they made God angry. Lefichach Stam et Devarim, he's Kirim Beremes. Therefore, Moshe only mentioned it without explanation and gave a hint because of the honor of the Jewish people. What does this mean? They really weren't all in these places. These were not necessarily places. It's hinting at certain things that the Jews did. Di Zahav, where's Di Zahav? What is this place? Never explained this place. Mul, they were really opposite the Red Sea. Mul Suf. They were Rebbe's of the Red Sea. So we'll see, let's see. El Kol Yisrael, he said it to all of the Jewish people. These are the Devarim that Moshe said to all the Jewish people. What the other things he didn't say to all the Jewish people. All the other time, all the commandments he said to all the Jewish people, except for the ones where it said, speak to Aaron, say as a special thing to Benos Tzalafchat. When God didn't, when he intended something other than all the Jewish people, he told Moshe. But whenever he spoke a commandment, it was always to all the Jewish people. Right? When God said, why does it have to say to Moshe said to all the Jewish people? Why does it have to tell this? Lefi Shem Divrei Tochachos, because these are, we did this 1 second. I'll call Yisrael, tell the Jewish people, Ilu Hochiach Miksasan, if Moshe Rabbeinu would have just rebuked, would have, told off some of the Jews, let's say only the ones that were sinning, Hayu Elisha Bashuk, the others would say, Atem Hayitim Shomim Mibein Amram Velo Heshivutam Davar Mikach Vakach. You heard these words from Moshe, and Moshe rebuked you. You should have said something. You can't let Moshe get away with this, right? We were in the desert alone. We were scared. There was times we didn't have water for a few days. That's why we were yelling. We were anxious. We were uptight. You should have said something. If we were there, we would have said something. We wouldn't have let Moshe get along. Therefore, Moshe gathered all the Jews together. V'omar lahem, and said, are you sure you're all here? You sure you're all here? Can call mishi yesh lo tshuva, anyone who's got any sort of a reply, a complaint, you want to make a correction in my words, go on, say it. Everyone was here. Now this here is making sure to tell you that every single Jew was there and no Jew had any, defense. Bamidbar, lo bamidbar hayo. In fact, as they weren't in the desert, they were in Arvos Moav. They were just on the other side in Moab, where they had conquered the lands of Ammon and Moab and Sichon. Umau b'midbar. Why does it say that they were in the desert? The Jews were in the desert. They weren't in the desert. Ela b'shvil mashich isu b'midbar. But because of what the Jewish people angered God in the desert. See, what does it say? Elu Devarim Asher Diber Moshe Kol Yisrael Be'ever Yarden. Is this Bamidbar on the other side of in the desert? But they weren't in the desert. The Jewish people, they already conquered. This was already fertile land. Remember, we just learned before that Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven, they said, this is fertile land. This is wonderful land for our flocks. We want to take our place over here. And Moshe got angry and they said, no, you didn't understand us. In other words, it was beautiful, fertile land. Why does it say in the desert? So this is starting off to tell you that Moshe really, he's hinting at the Jewish people how terrible they are. And how good God is that he didn't wipe them all out. Loba midbar you, they weren't in the desert, but Arvos Moab. Why does it say in the desert? Because of all the times that they got mad, got angry in the desert. Like it says, what did they say? Mi yitain motenu b'midbar hazeh, right? What the Jews? The Jewish people, like we said this before, the worst enemy of the Jewish people is the Jewish people. What did they say? When there was no desert, there was no water, they didn't have the man what they wanted. They didn't have they didn't have the variations that they wanted in the man. They wanted meat. So they said, if we only had died in Egypt, right? Lu masnu be'eretz Mitzrayim or b'midbar hazeh lu masnu. If we had only died in Egypt, we wouldn't have had to suffer over here. I mean, the fact of the matter is no one wanted to kill them. They weren't going to die. They wished something on themselves that in the worst scenario wouldn't have happened. God had no intention to kill them. Oh, it should have been that I was killed already before. So it says that this got God very angry. What did they say? God is really cruel. He's really very sadistic. He took us out in the desert over here to kill us with thirst. And God said, oh, come on. After all what I've done for you and I've helped you, you can see these amazing miracles. And now you're complaining. You're saying bad things about me. It's not nice. That made God very, very angry. What did God do about it? Absolutely nothing. He kept giving them food. He kept giving them water. He threatened them that Moshe Rabbeinu had to stand up. But the fact of the matter is God bore them all the time. They said, we don't want to go into the land of Israel, the spies. We want to stay in the desert. So God said, okay, you know what? Stay in the desert. That's what you want to stay in the desert. God didn't make fire come down and devour them immediately. You want to stay in the desert? Stay in the desert. What can I do? And that's what they did. They stayed in the desert until they died in the desert. Let's put it this way. Oh, so there we go. Ba'arava, bishvil ha'arava. What is the arava? For the sake of the arava, shechatu b'bal peor. That they sinned with Baal Peor in Shittim. Where is the Arava? Arvot Moab. When they were in Arvot Moab, just before they were coming to the land of Israel, all of a sudden Bilam sends the Goyish girls, and each one had a little, what was an idol, and the Jewish people were all ready to go into the Holy Land, and all of a sudden they saw this thing, they said, oh, I got an idea, let's do sins with these girls and worship idols. Everybody said, Pete, this is an idea. Why didn't I think of this before? This is the most amazing idea. Everybody said, what happened to God? What happened to Moshe? Oh, yeah. Just wait 1 minute and we'll be right back. Don't worry. It says, how could it be that the Jewish people, God said, I didn't leave you for 1 second. How can you leave me? I don't understand. God is reproving them for all the stupid things that they did in the desert. And of course, we know very well that the Jewish people did not do just stupid things then, that they do them also now. And not just the Jewish people, but also the religious people. Not just the religious people, but also me. What can I do? But it's very, very nice to point fingers at other people and get a lot of pleasure to see how bad they were. But the fact is, if we look at this closely, we'll see that we're no better. And in fact, let's change the subject. Here we go. Arvos Moab, all the amazing things that Hashem is doing for us, and He's keeping us alive. And here we have the Holy Land, and we're totally not respected. God does us these amazing miracles. We should be just jumping around, happy that we're just breathing. Just the love of Hashem for us is so thick, and the miracles are so amazing. It's amazing we can even breathe. Anyway, so we should learn from this to be a little more, not just appreciative, Appreciative means that you sit there and you appreciate what you get. We have to be more active, proactive, to do and to change the world like what Hashem wants. Mul Suf, they were opposite Mul Suf. They were opposite Mul Suf, the Yam Suf. Says, no, God is reproving them. He's hinting at them. Al ma shehem ru b'yam suf, b'boam liyam suf, what it says, amibli and kaborim b'mitzrayim, when the Jews came to Yam Suf, God took them out of Egypt with these amazing miracles, and they came to Yam Suf, and it didn't split immediately. What did the Jews immediately say? They said, God, help us, right? They said, God, we love you, right? What are you talking about? They said, oh, yeah, look at, they made a joke. I made one of the few jokes in the Torah. They said, what, there's no graves in Egypt? He had to take us out over here in order to grave. He needed land for cemetery, right? That's why he took us out here, so that there would be a lot of open land to have a nice cemetery we have. There's no graves in Egypt. The God took us out of here. What are you saying anything like that to God for? Cain also, even when they were traveling in the sea, like it says, V'yamru al yam b'yam suf. It says even when they were in the middle of the sea, they were still complaining, like it says in Arachim, in the Gemara in Arachim. Bein Paran v'bein Tofel v'Lavan. Where was this, the Moshe spoke to them? It was between a place called Paran and Tofel and Lavan. Where are these places? Says Rabbi Yochanan, some places says Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Chazarnu al kol mikra. We searched through the whole entire Torah. V'lo matzino makom sheshemo Tofel or Lavan. We didn't find a place that was called Tofel and Lavan. Ben Paran, ben Tofel v'Lavan. Ela hochichu ala Devarim. But God was hinting to the Jewish people. It was coming through Moshe's mouth, of course. Shetaflu alaman, shehu Lavan. That the Jewish people complained about the man, and its color was white. Shnei Amar, like it says, Nafshenu katsa b'lechem ha'kalokel. Our soul is disgusted with this, how do you say, this pure bread. Va'almasha asu b'midbar, and also what they did in Paran, by means of the Meraglim. What was Paran? That was where they sent the spies from. They sent the spies, and we know what happened with the spies, right? The spies came back, and they said, Moshe said, okay, you have a report on the land. We're going to go in and take over the land, right, everybody? And everybody said, wrong. We're not going in. Moshe said, what are you talking about? And the spies said, listen, guys, it's scary there. We're not going to make it out. It's terrible. Let's stay in the desert. Everybody said, oh, there's a good idea. Let's stay in the desert. Chatzerot. B'machlokas al Korach. What was in Chatzerot? Chatzerot was the place where they made the argument on Korach. Davar acher, another Omer lahem. Hayalachem lilmod mimash asiti laMiriam. You should have learned what I did. God said, you should have learned, Jewish people, what I did to Miriam. What did I do to Miriam? In a place called Chatzerot. Because she spoke Lashon Hora. It says Miriam, if you look in there, you'll have to really look and study very, very deeply to figure out how in the world what Miriam said could in any way be construed to be Lashon Hora about Moshe. Right? There's this famous book which is called Chafetz Chaim, written by the Chafetz Chaim, by the Baal Mishnah Brura. And he explains over there that to find how Miriam spoke Lashon Hora, you have to really fetch and look, and nevertheless it was considered to be Lashon Hora. She didn't have any bad intention, and she was saying the truth, and etc. Nevertheless, Miriam said Lashon Hora about Moshe, and she got punished. Well, the Jews, the same thing, the spies that came back, Atem nidbartem b'makom, and you spoke against Hashem. Dizahav, where is Dizahav? Everybody knows where Dizahav is, right? Wrong. There's no such place. Is he hochicho ala egel? God reproved them about the golden calf. Dizahav means dye, a lot of gold. she'asu bishvil zahav rov zahav, because of the great amount of gold that the Jewish people had. Where did they get the gold? Shene'amar, like it says in Hosea, of a kesef here, basi v'zav asu labal. And so where do the Jews get gold from in the desert? Very simple. They got gold. It says when they left Egypt, it says that they took out with them kli kesef kli zahav v'smalot. They took out gold from Egypt, and it says that when the Egyptians pursued them at Yam Suf, as all the Egyptians drowned, and miraculously they were washed up on the land, and the Jews took all of the Egyptians were pretty. I don't know. I exactly explain what their motivation was, but they dressed themselves up, and all of the gold and silver that they had. I guess they thought they were going to go partying afterwards, and everybody wanted to, just really feel rich. So it ended up that they got buried with all this gold, and they washed up on the sea. And it said it was greater bizatayam, the treasures that the Jewish people got from the dead Egyptian bodies that washed up on the sea. There was more treasure there than there was what they took out of Egypt. So they weren't lacking gold. What did they do with this gold? Instead of saying thank you to God, we really appreciate it, and save it for the Beis Hamikdash or something, they said, hey, we got an idea. Let's make a golden calf. And everyone said, wow, this is a really good idea. This is great. Or maybe they all said it simultaneously. And they made a golden calf from that gold. And that's the Dizahav. Now, of course, we're talking about here the previous generation. This was not the generation that they made the golden calf. The previous generation made the golden calf. But this generation that's coming in has the same tendencies and the same, what do you want to call it, the nature as the generation that left. And so Moshe is, you're the Jewish people. Yeah, I wanted to destroy. You guys know that you should all be dead now. You shouldn't be. I wanted to destroy your whole people. I was going to make a new nation from Moshe. The fact that you're here is just because of Moshe stood and he prayed for you, and that's why your forefathers have children like you. If not, I wanted to wipe them all out. So God now is reproving all these people and saying, you should know that your forefathers, they all worshipped golden calf, and nevertheless I let them go. Achad asar yom michorev. This is 11 days michorev. 11 days michorev. 11 days journey. What's Chorev? Chorev is Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai is in the name of Chorev. 11 days journey from Chorev, Derech Har Seir, Ad Karnesh Banea. 11 days. What do you mean 11 days? This is 40 years after Mount Sinai. What is it? 11 days. This is 40 years. Omer Lahem Moshe said, Ra'u ma garamtem. Look what you did. Ein lachem derech katsara michorev l'kadosh barnea kaderech har seir. The shortest way from Chorev, Mount Sinai, to Kadesh Barnea is through Har Seir. Ba'afu Mahalech, it's very, very short. And it was from Sinai to get to where we are, 11 days. Ba'atem alachtem oto shloshim, and you made it in 3 days. Shari be'esrim be'ir, at the 20th day of Iyar, Nes'u michorev. They left Chorev. Right? This is like, a little more than a year after they received the Torah. So they, in Nisan, they built the tall, I'm sorry, a little less than a year after they received the Torah. They built the tabernacle on the first day of Nisan, and a little bit more than a month after that, they started to travel. When did they receive the Torah? They received the Torah on the 6th day of Sivan, the year before. In other words, they camped in that place a little less than a year. Like it says, Vayehi b'shana shenit, in the second year, b'shana b'chodesh hasheni, in the second month, b'esrim b'chodesh. Right? When did they receive the Torah? On the first year on the third month. Now on the first year, on the second year, in the second month, in other words, a little bit less than a year, they started living. Sivan Shalchut Amaraglim. Very shortly after, they sent the spies, right? A little more than a year after they received the Torah, about 20 something days after they received the Torah, they sent the spies. Mikodesh Barnea. Same Yom Shloshim Yom, removed from them 30 days that they were in this place called Kivrot Ta'ava. That's where they ate the basar, Chodesh Yamim. That's when the Jewish people, they complained about the man, and God sent the slav. And then 7 days that they made it Chatzerot, that's after Miriam died. So it comes out that they walked 3 days. They moved, they went from Har Sinai. They made this whole journey. V'kol kach hayata shechina mitlabetet b'shvilchem. That the Shekhinah was taking trouble for you. Lamaher boachem. He wanted you to come to the land of Israel, right? So if so, you should have made it into the land of Israel. Made it first opportunity. Ubishvil shekilkalta, because you messed up. Hasev etchem svivos har seir arboim shana. You had to wander around in the desert for 40 years. So this is what Moshe is saying to the Jewish people right before they come into the land of Israel. Now, when, by the way, is Moshe Rabbeinu saying this? He's saying it about 7 days before he dies. Look at here. Vayehi ba'arboim shana, and it was on the 40th day, 40th year. Ba'ashte asar chodesh, on the Ashte asar chodesh, which means the the 11th month, be'echad lechodesh, diber Moshe al kol Yisrael, b'kol asher tzivo so alayim. Moshe said everything, all these words to them. I'm sorry, this is not 7 days, not 7 days. It's a month and 7 days before he died. Moshe died in the 12th month, and this is the 11th month, right? Milamed, this comes to teach you. Shaloho Chichon, Moshe did not reprove the Jewish people, not rebuke them. Elo Samach Lamita, very close to his death. Mimilamad, where did Moshe learn this? Just 1 month before he died, he's telling all the Jewish people, Moshe died on the 7th day of Adar. And that was the 12th month. So this is 1 month before that. Where did Moshe learn this? That if you're going to rebuke the Jewish people, don't do it immediately. Wait until right before you die. From Yaakov. Yaakov Avinu. The Yaakov Avinu lo hochiach et banav. Yaakov Avinu did not reprove. He did not give musar to his sons. Ella samach lamita, but right before he died. Omer, he said, Ruven beni, Ruven, my son, ani omer lecha mipnei ma lo chichachta. Why did I not reprove you, rebuke you all of these years? Kadei shalo tanicheni v'telech v'tadabek be'esav. Because if I say bad things to you, then maybe you'll get all angry at me, and you'll go and become a follower of my brother Esav. In general, it says 4 reasons you do not reprove a person, you don't rebuke a person, tell him what's wrong with him, except close to when you're going to die. In other words, you see people doing bad things, keep it to yourself. Don't do it. You can tell a person that he's doing something wrong, he'll hate you for the rest of your life. So you might as well, and you say, lessen that time. So you don't have much life left. So that you don't have to rebuke a person and do it again. Right? I told you once, he's doing the same thing again. Tell the person right before you die, and that's the last time. It'll be explained. You won't have to rebuke him again, right? Because he won't be alive. So that other people, the person that you rebuke, he'll be ashamed. Right? He's going to pass you by on the street. You told him that he's evil, he's stupid, he's cruel. He'll be ashamed of you, like it says in the Sifri. And also Yoshua, also, he only rebuked the people right next before he was dying. And also Shmuel Hanavi. He appointed King David, and he said, Hine, Anubi, behold, he rebuked the Jewish people. And also King David, he rebuked it Shlomo, his son, before he passed away. Okay, let me just do one more. We'll do one more. Achrei hikau, Acher hakoso es Sichon melech Omri asher yeshiv becheshbon, v'es Og melech Bashan asher yeshiv b'Ashtaros bedrei. After he hit Moshe Rabbeinu, he destroyed Sichon and Og, that he lived in Ashtaros bedrei. But after he called Moshe said, if I reprove the Jewish people before before they come into the land of Israel, what happened now? When Moshe Rabbeinu defeated Sichon and Og, as that land became what's called Ever HaYarden, that land became part of Israel. And Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven, they said, we want to stay, this is what we want to have our land. And in fact, those lands of Sichon and Og, those are the lands that God promised that he's going to give to the Jewish people in the days of the Mashiach. Those are the three lands, it says the Keni and the Kenizi, the Keni, the Kenizi and the Kadmoni. Those are these three lands that he promised. So Moshe Rabbeinu was conquering these lands so it's sort of like the land of Israel. It's not really the land of Israel, but it sort of is. In the future, it's going to be 100%. Yomru malazalenu, mahitiv lanu. If I reprove the Jewish people before I bring any of them into the land of Israel, before I conquer anything for them, so I'll tell all the Jewish people off, and everybody's going to say, listen, Moshe, come on. You know, you took us out of Egypt and you gave us the Torah, but that's it. You know, you're how do you say, you're obsolete. We don't need you anymore. You're not practical anymore. We don't need you practically. Right? You want to make lectures, good lectures, lecture all you want to, but we don't have to really take it seriously. So Moshe said, I better conquer these lands. I'll conquer the lands for them, and then they'll see that I'm still relevant. Moshe now, why is he telling us off? Why is he telling us these bad things that we did? He's trying to make excuses why he's not bringing us into the land of Israel. This whole thing that with the Jewish people will say is a big bluff. Moshe Rabbeinu was supposed to take us in the land of Israel. Now he's saying because he struck the rock, that's the reason why. The real reason is he hasn't got the power to do it. He can't do it. It's impossible for him. And now he's going to tell us off. He's going to make all sorts of more excuses. The reason is because you complained in the desert. You did all these bad things. And that's why I'm not taking you in the desert. So nobody's going to take him seriously, Moshe. They're not going to say he's reproving us so that we should improve ourselves. He's just making excuses for himself. Therefore, Himti and Moshe Rabbeinu waited until he defeated Sichon and Og before them. For Rishon, and then he gave them their lands. And now he reproved them. He said to the Jewish people, you see, I'm not just making excuses why I'm not bringing you into the land. I did bring you into the land. Here you have these two places. The land of Sichon. Sichon asher yeshev becheshbon. Here it says, what does it say here? Sichon melech Omri asher yeshev becheshbon. And Og melech Bashan asher yeshev b'Ashtaros be'edrei. Let's just do this last one and we'll go to the Mishnah. Sichon asher yeshev v'ilu lo Sichon kashev v'hoya shurui b'cheshbon. If it wasn't Sichon there, Moshe would have just conquered Cheshbon. That would have been hard enough. Shemedina kasher, because Cheshbon was a very, very difficult place to conquer. V'ilu hoya ir acheret, and if it was another city, but Sichon, he was the ruler, and he had Moshe Rabbeinu had to just defeat Sichon no matter where he was. That also would have been a big achievement. Shamelech Kasha, because he was a very hard king. He was a very, right, a very, they say, a powerful person, a good strategist, an amazing warrior. So Allah Chaskama Bakama, Shamelech Kasha V'Midin Kasha. How much more so than Moshe Rabbeinu? He conquered a hard king and a hard country. He wants to show the Jewish people that he is still not just relevant, but that Moshe Rabbeinu still is, he's still the leader. Therefore, you should listen to all this reproof. Asher Yeshev ba'Ashtaros, Hamelech Kasher v'Medina Kasher. Also, this is the same thing with Og. Astros, what's Astros? This is the language of Astros is Tsukin, Makushi. These are like rocky places and mountains. Astros Karnayim. That says Astros. Astros, this is the Astros Karnayim that was there. Rephaim, Sheikha Amraphel. This is what Amraphel defeated. Amraphel Melech Shinar, it says. Ooh. Excuse me. Excuse me. Okay. The Og nimlat mihem, Og ran away, like it says, Vayavo hapalit, like it says, Og, he was the one that came and he told Avraham that his Lot was taken prison. Va'omer, and he said, Ki rak Og melech habashan nishar mi'yeter Raphaim, that only Og was left over from the Raphaim. So these were powerful kings, powerful places, and nevertheless Moshe Rabbeinu defeated them, thereby giving weight and importance to the words of reproof that he's now telling the Jews off before they go into the land of Israel. And let's just do one more. Be'ever Yardain be'eretz Moav, Hoyel Moshe be'eretz HaTorah Zos, said, and the other side of the Jordan River, on the eastern side, be'eretz Moav, because he just conquered Moab, Moshe began to explain the Torah and say, Hoyel Moshe. Hoyel means to begin. Hitchil. Like it says, Hine no ho'alti. And he explained the Torah. What does it mean explain the Torah? Beshivim lashon. He explained the Torah 70 languages. Lashon Pirshalahem. He explained the Torah in 70 languages. Why did he explain it in 70 languages? We'll tell about it tomorrow, but you should know that the purpose, again, pointing out that the purpose of the Jewish people is not just for the Jewish people, it's for the whole entire world. And we're going to see even more amazing that they wrote the whole Torah in 70 languages on rocks. And they put one rock in the middle of the Jordan River and another rock on the other side, because this broke the Torah in to the consciousness of the non-Jews so that they will do the 7 Noahide commandments because it's written in the Torah, which is a very essential thing of the 7 Noahide commandments. And we'll talk about this more, God willing, tomorrow. Now let's do Pirkei Avos. Pirkei Avos, if you could put this up, that would be very wonderful. We are now on paragraph 4. I'm sorry. Chapter 4, Mishnah I think we're on Mishnah Tess.